Buckeyes head to New Jersey after the big win over Akron. We welcome in Tony Gerdeman from BuckeyesScoop.com. And Gerd, we saw what we wanted to see against the Zips. Now, granted, it was just Akron, but Ohio State finally putting together a dominant performance on all three aspects of the game.
Yeah, certainly better than the alternative. Ohio State finally showed what they're capable of, what people are expecting. I think the fact that they met expectations for the most part against an opponent, even against Akron, that is a positive. Gives a lot of confidence to some young guys who need it. And as Ryan Day keeps talking about, it gives experience and more game snaps to players who never had them. And any amount of reps that they can get during game helps them moving forward. And we're there every week talking to him. And he continues to talk about how inexperienced this team is, even the upperclassmen. You look at a senior like Taraja Mitchell, a senior captain linebacker. This was his fourth career start. So even the veteran leaders are still learning and getting their feet wet here. So it was definitely good to see them look as they've been anticipated to look this season. What does it mean? I guess we'll find out moving forward.
Let's get into that linebacker situation for a moment. Obviously, Dallas Gant entering the transfer portal on Wednesday, then Kevon Pope blowing up in the game against Akron. He is no longer with the team. Right now, Ryan Day says he is not concerned about the depth in the linebacker room, but if there's a couple of injuries in that room, all of a sudden you're going to look at maybe trying to move some guys to different positions to try and help out your depth at linebacker now.
Yeah, although I guess it has to be a concern if the concern is, well, if we lose one more, then we're concerned about depth. And so they're kind of playing with a little bit of fire. Now they do have some guys that they could maybe turn to when they have this bullet hybrid linebacker safety that they've recruited for. So maybe like a guy like Court Williams, who has just come back, could be somebody that they turn to. But right now, they like what they have. We've been talking to the coaches all season long now about paring down that linebacker rotation. Dallas Gant, Kevon Pope have done that a little bit on their own. And now things are starting to shake out in terms of you've got your, Steel Chambers has been very productive. Taraja Mitchell, Cody Simon seem like those are the three guys. Tommy Eichenberg is still playing quite a bit. But they've got their core guys now, and then they'll see what happens around them. But as long as those core guys stay healthy, then they should be okay depth-wise there. But this is just 4 games into the season. There could be 10, 11 more games to play yet. So you're asking a lot for that entire room to stay healthy to the point where they don't need to bring anybody else over. But I think they're happy that they're finding guys that are settling into roles. That was one of Ryan Day's key talking points on Tuesday, was just guys are finding their roles, they're finding their footing, they know where they belong, they know what they're doing now. And that's starting to appear true at linebacker. And yeah, it would not be good if somebody else goes down or somebody else enters the transfer portal before our eyes, like Kevon Pope essentially did on Saturday.
Staying on the defensive side of the ball, you point out an interesting statistic to Haskell Garrett this afternoon, that the defensive tackles have more sacks than the defensive ends, and Haskell Garrett took some pleasure in that.
He sure did. He was kind of a smile and a chuckle on that, but he also said that they kind of talk trash to each other a little bit, the defensive tackles and the defensive ends. He shared a story of him telling Zach Harrison before the game, I'm going to get to the quarterback before you. Somebody else asked him, well, did you? And he's like, yeah, I did. And they take this, you can almost, he talked about it a little bit, but he's like, the defensive ends always get the notoriety, always get the attention around here. But it was Haskell Garrett who was an All-American last year. Let's not forget that. And now they are producing, and I know some people will say, but it was just against Akron. Well, the defensive ends played against that same Akron team. So they could have produced some of those sacks as well. And you're seeing a lot of young guys step up as well. Tyleek Williams, Ty Hamilton, those guys all have been producing. And then also Jerron Cage and Haskell Garrett, both 5th year, 6th year seniors who have been around forever, also producing. They're just missing that middle component, I think, through a lot of this team, where they've got the old guys, they've got the young guys. They don't have so many of the mid-tier veterans.
Before we move on from the defense, just something else I want to point out about Haskell Garrett. Talking with him today, he continually talked about the joy he has in teaching those younger guys. And, you know, we've made a lot about the 5-star recruits Ohio State has brought in, but it's not just the talent on the field. We're talking about some special individuals, and Haskell Garrett ranks right up there with one of the most special people Ohio State has had on this team. The way he is embracing this teacher role and doing whatever he can to help out not only this team, but the future teams for Ohio State.
Yeah, I wanted to get one extra question into him at the end, but I got shot down. I just wanted to ask him because, like, he was talking like after his football days are over, he's going to coach. That's exactly what I was hearing from him, because he said he takes joy in teaching others. And he's like, if you've got knowledge, why hide it? Why do you keep it to yourself? And he's just sharing all of these. It wasn't even coach speak. It reminds me of what Brian Hartline told a crowd when, you know, he started coaching. He said it was a calling, and he's not throwing out coaching cliches. It's like he's talking from the heart. And that's what Haskell Garrett was doing. He was talking from the heart about how much he enjoys helping young players, how much he enjoys teaching them, going over the little things. And it's also the same kind of joy that Larry Johnson has, because a lot of what Larry Johnson talks about is just the little things. And that could be boring for some, but it's not boring for Larry Johnson. It's not boring for Haskell Garrett. But also the key thing that Haskell Garrett was asked, what's the key thing you would pass down to players? And he said, have fun. And I think that's a huge thing that maybe a lot of coaches maybe forget, depending on what levels they are, depending on what not levels, because we've seen Pee Wee coaches go absolutely berserk. But just at all levels, have fun, because he said, you know, no matter all of the stresses and all of the things that you have to memorize and know and all of the little details, you're still just playing a game. And so it's okay to have fun. And he wants players to remember that and remind themselves of that. And when everybody's having fun, they play a lot better than if they're worried about messing up, worried about getting in trouble, worried about this. If there's less worry and more fun, you fly around the field better as well.
Kyle Mccord, over 300 passing yards against Akron, wins the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. Fourth straight week Ohio State's had the Big Ten Freshman of the Week, but right now it looks like he'll be backing up C.J. Stroud for this game Saturday against Rutgers.
Yeah, Ryan Day seemed pretty optimistic that C.J. Stroud would be okay this week. He would find out more Tuesday. Tuesday's a pretty heavy practice for them, and C.J. Stroud was feeling better. I think maybe watching Kyle Mccord throw for 300 yards is going to help that shoulder feel a little bit better as well. Once you see that competition on the field playing where you should be playing, yeah, I think my shoulder's feeling a little bit better. Just watching it here Saturday night. So yeah, I expect C.J. Stroud to be back on the field. But now people have an idea of what Kyle Mccord can do, and Ryan Day wasn't overly praiseworthy of what Mccord did. He said he made some mistakes, got away with some throws, which I think everybody saw, but they end in touchdowns, so it kind of gets whitewashed a little bit. But again, true freshman, first career playing time. As they said, he will be much better prepared for his next start, whenever that is, even whether it's this Saturday or a year from now. This was a good opportunity for him. Pretty good performance. I'm not sure. There haven't been a lot of freshman debuts with 300 yards passing from an Ohio State quarterback in school history. Actually, probably the first.
He's only the fourth true freshman to start a game at quarterback for Ohio State. Braxton Miller, Terrell Pryor, and Art Schlichter all starting as true freshmen. As the Buckeyes head to Rutgers, they have never lost to the Scarlet Knights, but this is a resurgent Rutgers program that is 3-1 and just narrowly lost, beating Michigan last weekend.
And that was a tough one. That's 2 years in a row that Rutgers has almost gotten Michigan, and Rutgers had the ball in the fourth quarter to go and tie that. I think what helps Ohio State not overlook this is you have a lot of guys who are coached by Greg Schiano, who know Greg Schiano, who understand what he gets out of his players. Haskell Garrett talked about that today, where he gets the most out of guys. They want to play for him. They want to fight for him. They're not going to stop chopping, as is their way at Rutgers. And so I think that helps players be aware and to be ready and to listen to the coaching and say, hey, we can't take things lightly. And then also look at last year's game where Rutgers pulled out every single stop in the book, every single trick play you've ever seen in any kind of football movie or whatever. Rutgers tried them last year, and many of them were successful. So Ohio State knows they have to be ready for everything. They're preparing for as much as they can, but also they know that they're going to get a hard-fought, tough-nosed team playing against them who is still looking for that big win against somebody, and they're eventually going to get it. You just hope as a Buckeye, the Buckeyes are hoping that it's not this week.
Ohio State heads to Rutgers the same weekend the Many Saints of Newark debuts, which is the Sopranos prequel movie. And if you go back 20 years ago, the height of the Sopranos movie, Tony Soprano, the actor James Gandolfini, he was a Rutgers grad. Greg Schiano had that Rutgers program very relevant during that same time frame. They were making commercials together. They were both Jersey guys. Is that some sort of maybe good vibes for Rutgers that with all the Sopranos talk, they're going to be able to pull off an upset?
You know what? Maybe you know how Virginia Tech comes out to enter Sandman? Maybe the Rutgers team should enter the field to the Sopranos theme song, and that would probably get people going pretty good, and just play into it. And, maybe like threaten the sideline. Hey, you wouldn't want something to happen to your sideline here, would you? And just lean into it. It's Jersey. Why not? It's not like people are not going to think of this. It's like, this is what we all think of New Jersey. I mean, am I right?
Exactly. Thank you very much, Tony Gerdeman from BuckeyeScoop.com. We appreciate your time.
Yep.
We talked last week if BG could have a low-scoring game against the Gophers, that'd be their best chance of winning, and that's exactly what they did as they were able to control the clock and come away with a major win over a Power 5 opponent.